Welcome, everyone. Today, we tell the story of a man who didn't just build a bank. He built an entire financial system. His name was J.P. Morgan, and his influence shaped the modern world. With no political title, he often held more power than presidents. This isn't a story of praise or blame. It's a story of truth, the life, power, and legacy of J.P. Morgan. John Pierpont Morgan was born into wealth in 1837. His father, Junius, was an international banker. But young Morgan wasn't strong. He suffered from seizures and a painful skin disease called rosacea. Unable to play like other children, he was often sick and angry. His father's belief was simple: you are either disciplined or forgotten. This shaped Morgan's childhood. While other boys played games, he studied numbers, currencies, and gold prices. Sent abroad to study, he learned languages, finance, and how global markets truly worked. He once said, "I don't want a hobby. I want a kingdom." At age 20, he started working in New York. From day one, he entered a world of big deals and high risks. He studied everything: how confidence moves markets, how fear destroys companies, and how money flows between nations. He learned that real power isn't just having money. It's making others believe you're the only one who can save them. People said, even as a young man, Morgan had a commanding presence, cold, sharp, and confident. He walked into rooms like he owned them. When the American Civil War began in 1861, Morgan made his first controversial deal, buying 5,000 rifles from the government for $3.50 each and selling them back for $22. Many called him greedy. Others called him clever. Either way, the world learned that J.P. Morgan how to make the system work for him. By 1871, he co-founded Drexel, Morgan & Co., which became the most powerful private bank in America. Morgan began investing in railways, steel, and electricity. But he didn't just invest, he took control. If a business was weak, he replaced its managers and rebuilt it in his own style. This became known as Morganization. He rescued failing industries, but always grew more powerful in the process. While his public influence grew, his personal life was filled with pain. In 1865, his beloved wife Amelia died just 4 months after their wedding. Morgan never fully recovered emotionally. His rosacea worsened, disfiguring his face. He hated photographs and hid behind his power, work, and wealth. By the late 1800s, America's most important industry, the railroads, was near collapse from vicious competition. Morgan stepped in. He forced companies to cooperate, merged firms, and restored stability. During one famous meeting on his private yacht, he locked the doors and told rival leaders, "You will either cooperate, or you will both die." Within hours, peace was made. By the 1890s, he controlled over 60% of America's railways. But Morgan wanted more. He helped Thomas Edison create what would become General Electric. Soon, he wasn't just a powerful banker. He was the man the country turned to when the system failed. In 1893, a massive financial crisis hit the United States. Banks failed, businesses collapsed, and the U.S. government was running out of gold. President Grover Cleveland was helpless, so he called one man, J.P. Morgan. In a meeting at the White House, Morgan offered to provide $62 million in gold to save the U.S. dollar. In return, he demanded a profitable bond deal. The government agreed. Within weeks, the panic ended, and the dollar was saved. A private banker had rescued the United States. Some said, "Thank God for Morgan." Others asked, "How can one man hold so much power?" Morgan didn't care. He never defended himself publicly, simply continuing to build his empire. By the late 1890s, Morgan had controlled railways, electricity, and banking. But to rule American industry, he needed to rule steel. And that meant facing Andrew Carnegie, the one man he couldn't easily beat. Carnegie, a friendly Scottish immigrant, owned the world's largest steel empire. He was the opposite of the cold, private Morgan. Carnegie teased that he'd never sell to Morgan. But Morgan had a dream: to create the world's first billion-dollar corporation. To do that, he needed Carnegie steel. In 1900, Carnegie wrote a price on a piece of paper and gave it to his partner to deliver to Morgan. Morgan read the note, looked up, and said, "Tell Mr. Carnegie, I accept, no negotiation." With that, Morgan created US Steel, the first company worth over $1 billion. It was more powerful than many countries. For Morgan, this was about order and control, but his power frightened the public. Newspapers called him the head of a money trust. Soon, another crisis would test him one last time. The Panic of 1907 was even bigger than the crisis of 1893. Banks were collapsing, and the economy was moments from destruction. With no central bank, America once again turned to J.P. Morgan. He locked the nation's top bankers in his private library, refusing to let them leave until they agreed on a plan to save the financial system. He commanded them like a general, deciding who would survive and who would fail. By the end of the night, a deal was done. The panic stopped. America was saved again. But this time, people realized it was too dangerous for one man to hold so much power. The government decided the country needed a central bank, leading to the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. Morgan's era was ending. In his final years, he was powerful but tired. He spent more time with his art and books. In 1913, J.P. Morgan died at the age of 75. The New York Stock Exchange paused trading in his honor. His legacy is immense: the creation of US Steel and General Electric, the stabilization of American railways, and the rescue of the US government not once, but twice. His actions inspired the Federal Reserve System. Today, Morgan Chase still carries his initials. He was feared, respected, and criticized. Some called him a hero, others a tyrant, but no one can deny his influence. He was a man who hated weakness, demanded order, and reshaped a nation. The story of J.P. Morgan is the story of modern capitalism itself. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the figures who shaped our world.